Welcome back. It's event 6, WCC. We got you. What are we watching?
We're watching people do handstand push-ups, toes to bar, and the sled thing.
This was push-pull 2014.
Yes.
But it's upgraded a little bit.
Right.
So
Much right. Chris, put the picture up on this thing so we don't have to explain the workout, which we probably couldn't
toes to bar,
do.
change the sled to the torque tank thingy.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we're about to watch Alexis Raptis, who won the workout, and Jake Berman, who took 4th overall on the workout. 2 really well executed workouts. Let's watch.
Sick, tight.
Who's starting us?
We're off. That's the only thing you can't say. All right. So first things first, I'm looking at rep speed. Jake's range of motion and rep speed on handstand push-ups is absolutely unreal. It's also important to keep in mind that Alexis won this event for the women, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. And so just looking at the rep speed, it's very clear that Jake can take massive advantage of his limb length on this.
The difference between these two was, pretty distinct, but it's also like Alexis's rep speed compared to the other females was still the fastest out on the floor.
Super fast for handstand push-ups.
So, even though Jake was faster than she was faster than everybody else out on the floor, which was impressive.
Max, you pointed something out to me when we were there about toes to bar technique and speed. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, Bethany Shadburn. Well, should we wait until we get back to the toaster bar and talk about the tank?
Talk about the tank was just the tank, right?
Well, Bethany Shadburn was going against Alexis in this heat, and those were the two that were really like fighting for the lead. And Bethany broke her handstand push-ups multiple times, but was able to use this almost butterfly toes to bar type
like a scoop
technique.
That's how I picture it from the side, because it's like your feet touch the bar and then you bring them down closer to your body and immediately back behind, versus like a long arc swinging out away from the bar back into that position.
So the upper body stays much more stable and the lower body moves around it. She was making up a lot of ground there, and Noah actually does that same technique, and he broke way more than Jake and ended up beating Jake and taking second in it. So I think toes to bar speed is something to pay attention to.
That's even with Jake's hustle that you see here, where he's basically sprinting between the torque tank and the handstand push-up wall, and he pretty much maintains that throughout the entire workout.
I think we're going to continue to see that as the sport evolves and progresses, is like the rep speed is going to become more and more of a differentiator when it comes to just the common movements like toes to bar and burpees and chest to bar. We saw it with Alexis's chipper, like how quickly she goes down into the negative portion of the pull-up.
And to that same point, I think transition speed. We watched those teen athletes in Granite Games who basically sprinted between
sprinted
all
over the field.
And then everybody at this
when the event was over, they were still sprinting.
Everybody at this event watched that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there were a lot of people who I watched this past weekend who have probably started to adopt that, but they probably haven't raised their fitness levels to the point where they can handle that for a 9-minute or 8-minute workout like this.
Yeah. So they've both been unbroken to this point, and Jake has a little bit of a toes to bar lead. I can't see exactly how it is. The guy will put his hand up with 5 to go. So she was about 10 reps behind, even going unbroken and jogging the transition.
That's a lot of looking around for Jake. I didn't notice that while he was actually doing the workout, but he is watching the heat like a hawk.
When you talked to Alexis after this event, did she talk about being in the race at all, or she was just stuck to her plan and just did her thing? Was she aware of where Shadburn was?
She knew, but she also knew that she'd be able to hold on to those handstand push-ups and that those were going to be a big separator for her. We were a little uncertain about what the torque tank was going to feel like, because when she practiced it, she did it on the prowler in the gym, and it was slow. It blew up her grip. She had to change her toe to bar plan. So we weren't really sure what it was going to feel like out on the floor. And then you'll see, this is the second set, but that thing is not slowing down at all. So it was much lighter and more manageable than she was expecting. So I think it allowed her to lean into the rest of the things that she was really, really confident with.
Yeah, it really seemed like most of the separation and where her biggest separation came from, and I think maybe for the guys as well, is this third set of handstand push-ups.
Yeah.
People kind of got through that first 20, however many it was in the first 2 rounds, and then they got back here, and I guess the cumulative volume of the pushing and the pulling and the toes to bar, people kicked up and were doing 1s and 2s at that point.
Even for Jake, who's one of the best handstand push-up burrs.
Yes, it is. Now it is.
That we know of. Even for him, that was the last unbroken set. But doesn't Alexis stay unbroken throughout the entire workout?
She did unbroken for all 4. She did have to break the toes to bar on round 4, and I think it was just 3 sets, though. They didn't completely fall apart.
The scoop toes to bar technique that we were talking about, actually, looks like Jake has switched to that in the middle of this.
Yeah, let's see.
But that also might be a grip fatigue thing. That's not quite what we were talking about, but it's similar.
It's similar type
close.
movement pattern. Yeah. And I think as your grip gets taxed, it's almost better because you can get on and off the bar in less time, but get more reps because you're just doing them quicker.
What was that no rep for on Alexis?
I think it was like a 1 foot touch.
Yeah. I saw that. She got a couple no reps in there, right?
Maybe 1 or 2.
Yeah.
So one of the other things that I noticed is a lot of the guys use the hand over hand technique versus the, like big hip pulls all the way to the last round.
Yeah.
But Alexis, she mixed the techniques out throughout the workout, which I think was probably a smart move from an efficiency perspective.
What was helpful for this was all the prep that we did for the legless rope climbs. So she has basically 2 techniques that she uses for legless rope climbs. One is sort of like shorter pulls where she's kind of like using a hip drive, but her legs stay in front of her the whole time in that sort of like pike position. And then she does that straight arm kip as well. And what we did is we actually came up with a hybrid where she would jump to the rope, do like 2 or 3 of the quicker pulls, and then she would switch to the straight arm pulls at the top.
That's what she's doing right now.
And then before we went out, I said, why don't you get the sled moving with a couple of the shorter pulls and then immediately go to the straight arm pulls to save your grip. And it worked out really well in rounds 3 and 4.
If you look there, she's got her body position in a very different, like she's leaned towards it where she's actually pulling like elbows back versus, almost everybody else is leaned back and pulling like a ring row. She was pulling like it was a rope climb, if you look at that. So it's like vertical pulling almost.
It's a good way to think about it, I guess.
Yeah, that's a very different pull than what we saw from almost everybody else in the entire field.
Yeah, the other thing that she does here when she goes to the straight arm, you'll see her keep working her way back up the rope to take the slack out before she then opened up her hips and used her legs to drive it. Yeah. So she works her way down the rope. And that keeps the sled like almost keeping it moving more.
Incredibly efficient.
That was, I think, Jake's first handstand push-up break.
Yes.
And you can see they're like really labored. For them to get this far, for somebody like Jake with his handstand push-up capacity, he's got to be pushing a lot.
This, I think, having watched this workout and knowing Jake well, this is the result of that hustle transition that he had between movements. Had he taken a slower transition throughout the whole workout, this wouldn't have happened, but the overall time would be a little bit slower. That's what I was saying when I say people's fitness hasn't caught up to the tactic of sprinting the transitions.
Yeah.
It will happen over the next year as someone like Jake sprints every transition.
It's going to have to. I mean, people are just going to have to separate everywhere they can on a field.
I think this is the start of round 4. Alexis just caught up and passed Bethany, and she's going to hang on to this handstand push-up set. This is probably one of the only times in the race where she's probably looking at Bethany, knows that if she can hang on to this set, she's going to get a good little buffer here.
Yeah, and she did get a buffer, but this is where it became clear to me. Like I was like, wow, her toes to bar are so fast. When I was looking at Bethany's in comparison.
Like when Bethany sprinted round 4.
Yes. Yeah, you could really tell. Another thing too about the push-pull component of it, a lot of people were talking about it prior to the event, and they were like, oh, pushing the sled, it's not a separator, you can't separate time. But in the last round, when people were trying to sprint finish, you can move that thing a lot faster. Yeah. So I think people were just kind of in their comfort zones knowing that it was gymnastics. But in a different style of workout, that thing could get nasty if it was like box jump overs.
Yeah, I think what you said is right. I think the push of the sled can be a separator. I'm not convinced the pull of the sled can be a separator.
This? Yeah, I agree.
I think this just kind of is what it is. And if you try and accelerate that too much, it's a mistake.
Because you slack the rope anyways too. Yeah.
But I think the push for sure can be a separator. Just watching the finishing round versus starting round. Like when you know it's the finish line, you can really drive your legs harder.
Yeah. Jake is finishing up, I think, his whole workout right now. And Alec, he's looking over at Alex Smith.
Yeah, he's racing. So basically, Alec caught up a ton on the final set of handstand push-ups there.
And it's close, but he's got a good enough lead, and looks like he's straining like at absolute failure. But this might be where the straight arm pull technique, he's kind of doing the same thing as Alexis, but with bent arms, so you're getting less range of motion. You're not moving it as far.
She opens up her hips more at the top as well.
This is something Jake and I have worked on a little bit coming into this on his rope climbs, is just learning to do a straight arm kip. He likes to do it from a bent arm, but I mean, he's obviously got extremely strong, like really well built biceps. So he's like trying to maintain that bent arm where he feels pretty strong.
So that was a great finish. Sorry, I cut you off. 840,
extremely well executed.
Yeah. And then Alexis is actually really close behind to finishing. And Jake was, what did he take overall in this workout? Fourth overall. This kind of highlights the discrepancy. I actually talked about it on the legless workout that for girls and guys, sometimes they're not really the same style of workout or the same intensity of workout if there's a lot of gymnastics.
Man, this is a really well executed workout for Alexis as well, though. I mean, if I think some of the guys, if someone like Jake or Cedric could have executed as cleanly as she did, their time could have potentially been even faster.
Well, that's what it looks like to win a workout, folks. Very well executed.
That's a good feeling right there.
Wow, great job.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Jake and I got you again. How'd they fall for that?
I'm having a seizure.
All right. Very well done on the workout. Great job on day 3. We got one more workout to show you, and then we'll be done with the West Coast Classic. Peace.
It's a wrap, you know what I'm saying? Your boy Project Patar in this thing, man. Hey, look, man, thank y'all for watching Training Think Tank's YouTube channel. Y'all hit that motherfucking subscribe button, you know what I'm saying? So y'all go ahead, man. Thank y'all for watching the channel, you know what I'm saying? Hit that motherfucking subscribe button. Let it be known, what it be known, what it be known, you know what I'm saying? Patar.